Welcome to Sunbeam Across the Hearthstone, a deeply calming story designed to gently guide you toward restful sleep. We're so glad you've chosen to spend this quiet time with us. If you find peace and relaxation in this narrative, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel for more soothing slice of life journeys. Before we step into Clara's tranquil cottage, we'll begin with a short, gentle breathing guidance to help release the day and settle your mind. If you'd prefer to drift directly into the story, you can find the chapter timestamps in the description below. Please find a comfortable position, allowing your body to feel fully supported and heavy against your bed or chair. Let your muscles soften, your shoulders release, and feel the gentle weight of your blanket around you. This is a moment just for you, a quiet pause to breathe and simply be. Imagine the soft morning light beginning to touch a cool, smooth hearthstone, bringing with it a sense of calm and the promise of a peaceful day unfolding at its own gentle pace. Let's take a slow, easy breath together now. Inhale softly through your nose, feeling the air fill your lungs without effort, perhaps noticing the slight coolness. And exhale slowly through your mouth, releasing the breath with a quiet sigh, letting go of any lingering tension. Feel the gentle rhythm in and out. With each inhale, imagine drawing in warmth and stillness. With each exhale, feel your body becoming heavier, softer, more deeply relaxed against the surface beneath you. Picture the quiet comfort of Primrose Cottage, the scent of old paper and drying herbs. If thoughts from the day drift into your mind, simply acknowledge them without judgment, like watching clouds pass slowly overhead, and gently guide your focus back to the sensation of your breath or the sound of my voice. There is nothing else you need to do right now but rest and allow the story to unfold. Feel the steady, peaceful rhythm of Clara's day, marked by the slow journey of sunlight. Let that gentle pace soothe your mind and body, preparing you for deep, restorative sleep. Allow the quiet simplicity to wash over you. Now, let us begin our visit to Primrose Cottage, where the sunbeam marks the tranquil passage of time. Chapter 1. First Light on Stone. The world outside Primrose Cottage was still held in the soft, deep blue of pre-dawn. Inside, silence reigned, thick and comfortable like a well-loved blanket. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, a change began. A pale, ethereal finger of light, the very first emissary of the new day, stretched tentatively through the east-facing window. It found the edge of the wide, smooth hearthstone, illuminating a small crescent of the cool gray stone in fragile, pearlescent light. This was the day's quiet beginning, marked not by sound, but by the gentle arrival of light upon stone. Clara stirred softly in her bed upstairs. Her awakening was less a sudden event and more a gradual surfacing, like a water plant rising slowly toward the light. She lay still for a moment, feeling the comfortable weight of her quilt, the smooth coolness of the sheets against her skin. The silence of the house wrapped around her, broken only by the gentle rhythm of her own breathing. She took a slow, deep breath in, feeling her chest rise gently, and let it out with a soft sigh, releasing the last vestiges of sleep. There was no rush, no demand upon the coming hours. The day would unfold at its own pace, guided by the sun. Padding softly downstairs in her bare feet, the cool wood of the floorboards smooth beneath her soles, Clara moved towards the kitchen nook. Her first ritual was always the same: warm water with a slice of lemon. She filled the small kettle, its familiar weight comfortable in her hand, and set it on the stove. While it heated, the quiet hum a gentle vibration in the still air. She stood by the main room window. Outside, the garden was bathed in that same soft pre-dawn light, the leaves heavy with dew, each droplet holding a tiny captured gleam. The air beyond the glass looked cool and invitingly fresh. The kettle clicked off, its gentle sound punctuating the quiet. Clara poured the steaming water over the lemon slice in her favorite mug, a simple earthenware cup, worn smooth in places from countless mornings just like this. The faint, bright scent of lemon rose with the steam, clean and uplifting. Carrying the warm mug carefully in both hands, feeling the comforting heat seep into her palms, she walked toward the hearth. The sunbeam had grown slightly, a slender band of pale gold now lying across the stone, warming it almost imperceptibly. She settled into the worn armchair nearby, tucking her feet beneath her. The chair sighed faintly, accommodating her weight. Clara took a slow sip of the warm lemon water, feeling the gentle heat travel down, a soothing sensation spreading through her chest. She watched the sunbeam. It wasn't moving in any way that could be truly seen, yet she knew it was. Minute by minute, it would creep further across the hearth, a silent measure of the morning's progress. Outside, the blue sky was softening, paling towards the horizon, hinting at the colors yet to come. A single bird began to sing, its clear notes falling sweetly into the quiet air. Then another joined, a tentative counterpoint. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, just listening. The sounds were pure, uncluttered. She felt a sense of profound peace settle over her, the kind that comes not from grand events, but from the simple alignment of being present in a quiet moment. She focused on the feeling of the warm mug in her hands, the gentle weight of it grounding her. Opening her eyes, she noticed the light had shifted again. The gold was a little richer now, the beam slightly wider. It illuminated the texture of the hearthstone, the small pits and veins in the gray surface, smoothed by time and countless fires long extinguished. Clara performed a few gentle stretches right there in her chair, feeling the muscles in her neck and shoulders release small pockets of tension. A soft ease spread down her arms and back. She rotated her wrists slowly, feeling the small clicks and releases. Finally, rising slowly, feeling limber and calm, Clara walked to the window and drew back the curtains fully. The garden emerged properly now, greens and blues sharpened by the growing light. Dew sparkled like scattered diamonds on the lawn and spiderwebs. She took another slow breath, this time inhaling the promise of the quiet day ahead, the scent of damp earth just beginning to warm. The sunbeam lay confidently on the hearth now, a warm invitation. The day had truly begun, gently, peacefully, marked by first light on stone. Chapter 2. The Sunbeam Warms the Room. By mid-morning, the sunbeam had journeyed significantly across the hearthstone. It lay now like a wide, warm path, stretching from the edge nearest the window almost to the center of the room, spilling onto the polished wooden floorboards beside the soft, woven rug. The light it cast was no longer pale and tentative, but a confident buttery yellow, filling the small cottage living room with a gentle warmth and illuminating the air itself. Tiny dust motes, usually invisible, danced lazily in the bright chauffeur of light, swirling in silent, microscopic ballets. The room felt awake, alive with quiet energy. Clara sat at her sturdy wooden work table positioned near the window, but slightly angled away from the direct sunlight. Before her lay the components of a book: carefully folded signatures of creamy deckle-edged paper, smooth boards covered in a deep blue bookcloth, and tools laid out in neat order-bone folder, awl, needle, and a spool of strong linen thread. Her work today was binding a collection of poetry for a customer, a task she approached with meditative focus. Her movements were deliberate, unhurried, each action flowing smoothly into the next. The scent in the room was a quiet blend, the faint, dry aroma of old paper from the shelves lining one wall, the slightly sweet, almond-like smell of the PVA glue she used sparingly, and underneath it all, the subtle warmth emanating from the sun-drenched hearthstone. Clara picked up the awl, its wooden handle smooth and familiar in her grip. She carefully punched holes along the spine of the first signature, the tool sinking cleanly through the paper layers with a soft, satisfying crunch. The precision required focus, drawing her attention fully into the present moment, into the texture and feel of the materials beneath her hands. She threaded the needle, the linen thread sliding smoothly through the eye. Her fingers worked deftly, sewing the signatures together, stitch by careful stitch. The only sounds were the whisper of the thread passing through paper, the occasional soft thud of a tool set down on the wood, and from outside, the distant, contented drone of a lawnmower starting up somewhere down the lane, a sound so commonplace it blended into the background peace. The warmth from the sunbeam reached her chair, pooling pleasantly around her feet, a gentle ambient heat. Clara paused, setting the partially sewn text block aside. She leaned back in her chair, letting her shoulders relax, consciously releasing any tension she might have been holding. Her gaze drifted towards the window. A robin had landed on the bird bath in the garden, splashing energetically, sending droplets scattering like tiny jewels in the sunlight. Clara watched it for a few moments, a small smile touching her lips. Such simple everyday dramas held a quiet fascination. The robin finished with its bath, ruffled its feathers, and flew off into the green leaves of the lilac bush. Her eyes then moved to the sunbeam on the hearth. It seemed almost solid, a tangible presence in the room. She noticed the way the light caught the slight unevenness of the stone, highlighting textures she wouldn't normally see. The warmth radiating from it felt gentle, comforting. It wasn't just light. It felt like a quiet blessing on the room, on her work, on the peaceful unfolding of the morning. She took a slow, even breath, feeling the warmth in the air she drew in and exhaled just as slowly, feeling a sense of deep calm settle within her. Returning to her work, Clara picked up the book boards. The blue cloth was smooth beneath her fingertips, the color deep and calming, like a twilight sky. She carefully measured and cut, her movements economical and precise. There was a quiet satisfaction in bringing order to the materials, in the slow transformation from separate parts into a unified whole. The rhythmic nature of the work was soothing, her hands knowing the familiar steps, allowing her mind to rest in a state of quiet focus. She worked steadily for another hour, the sunbeam continuing its silent journey. It now covered the entire width of the hearthstone and stretched further across the floor, making the grain of the wood glow warmly. The room felt bathed in light and peace. Clara could feel a pleasant sense of accomplishment building, not rushed, but steady. The poetry book was taking shape, slowly, beautifully, She paused again, simply resting her hands on the cool surface of the work table, feeling the gentle warmth of the sun on her arms, listening to the quiet hum of the house, perfectly content in the warm heart of the morning. Chapter 3. Shadows Lengthen in the Garden. The sunbeam, having reached its zenith within the cottage, now rested fully across the hearthstone, a broad swath of warm gold. Its journey across the stone marked a subtle peak of the day. Outside, the sun hung high in the pale blue sky, though the first hints of afternoon's softening angle were beginning to show in the lengthening shadows cast by the old apple tree in Clara's small garden. Feeling the natural pause in the day's rhythm, Clara decided it was time for a break, a gentle transition from the focused stillness of her binding work to the quiet activity of the garden. She slid the finished text block carefully onto a shelf to rest and wiped her hands clean. Standing up, she stretched slowly, feeling the pleasant release in her back and shoulders. The warmth of the room felt comfortable, but the thought of the fresh air and gentle sunshine outside beckoned. She slipped on her sturdy gardening clogs, their familiar shape comforting, and opened the back door. The scent of warm earth, sun-baked leaves, and the faint sweetness of blooming lavender immediately greeted her, a welcome contrast to the indoor scents of paper and paste. Stepping out onto the small stone patio, the warmth of the sun fell directly onto her face and arms. It felt wonderful, a gentle, encompassing heat that seemed to soak right into her skin, easing away any remaining stiffness from sitting. She took a deep breath of the garden air, rich and alive. The low hum of bees exploring the lavender bushes was a constant, soothing sound, a gentle soundtrack to the afternoon. She let the warmth penetrate, feeling her body relax further, her shoulders dropping slightly. Her garden was small and simple, more herbs and sturdy perennials than elaborate flower beds. A patch of mint threatened to take over near the back fence, its bright green leaves releasing their sharp, clean scent as she brushed past. Rosemary bushes stood like sturdy sentinels, and time crept happily between the paving stones. Clara's task for this break was simple, a little light weeding around the base of her tomato plants, which were just beginning to show tiny yellow blossoms. She knelt on a soft foam pad. The damp earth cooled beneath it. Her fingers began to work among the tomato stems, gently loosening the soil and easing out the small, opportunistic weeds. The work was rhythmic and grounding, feeling the texture of the soil, sometimes crumbly and dry, sometimes cool and damp, connected her directly to the earth, to the slow, steady processes of growth and decay. Her focus narrowed to the small patch of ground before her, the shapes of the leaves, the feel of the sun on her back. The sounds around her were all gentle, natural ones, the persistent buzzing of the bees, the rustle of leaves as a soft breeze whispered through the apple tree, the occasional chirp of a sparrow hopping nearby, hoping for a disturbed worm. Above, a few fluffy white clouds drifted slowly across the vast blue canvas of the sky. Clara noticed how the sunlight filtered through the leaves of the apple tree, creating a constantly shifting pattern of light and shadow on the ground, dappling the earth in moving patches of brightness and shade. She worked without haste, her movements careful and considerate of the plant she nurtured. Pulling a stubborn dandelion root required a gentle, steady pressure, a focused effort that brought a small sense of satisfaction when it finally yielded. She paused often, simply sitting back on her heels, feeling the warmth on her skin, observing the tiny details of her small kingdom, an ant diligently carrying a crumb, the intricate veining on a leaf, the way a spiderweb shimmered invisible until the light caught it just right. These moments of observation were as much a part of her gardening as the weeding itself. They were moments of quiet wonder, appreciating the intricate beauty woven into the fabric of the everyday natural world. There was no grand drama here, only the peaceful coexistence of plants, insects, light, and air. She felt the weight of her own body resting comfortably on the kneeling pad, the solid earth beneath her, the warm sun above. It was a feeling of being perfectly placed, entirely present in the simple act of tending her garden. After clearing the small patch, she rose slowly, brushing the loose soil from her hands. The sunbeam inside, she knew, would be starting its slow retreat from the center of the hearthstone. She stood for a final moment, surveying her small domain, feeling a gentle sense of accomplishment and a deep connection to this little patch of green. The air felt warm and still, filled with the scent of herbs and earth. Ready for the next phase of the quiet afternoon, she turned back toward the cottage, feeling refreshed and grounded by her time under the open sky. Chapter 4. Afternoon Tea by Fading Light. The afternoon sun, now lower in the sky, slanted through the west-facing window, casting longer shadows across the cottage floor. The intense golden bar that had earlier dominated the hearthstone had now shrunk considerably, retreating back toward the window-side edge. The light itself had softened, losing its midday intensity and taking on a warmer, more honeyed hue. The air in the room felt calmer, imbued with the gentle tranquility of the late afternoon. It was the perfect time for another of Clara's quiet rituals, afternoon tea. She moved towards the kitchen nook again, the familiar routine a comforting rhythm. She filled the kettle, the sound of running water briefly filling the quiet space, and selected her tea today, a fragrant chamomile blend known for its soothing properties. While the water heated, she retrieved her favorite mug, the same earthenware cup from the morning, now cool and waiting. She also took down a small tin containing simple oat biscuits, placing 2 on a little saucer. The preparations were simple, unhurried, each small action performed with mindful attention. The kettle whistled softly, a gentle rising note that signaled readiness. Clara poured the steaming water over the chamomile flowers in her infuser, watching as the water immediately began to take on a pale golden tint. The delicate apple-like fragrance of chamomile filled the air, calming and sweet. She let it steep for a few minutes, standing by the counter, gazing out the window at the garden, now bathed in the soft golden light of late afternoon. The shadows were long and distinct, stretching across the small lawn. Carrying her mug, the saucer with biscuits, and a well-loved book of essays, Clara returned to the armchair near the hearth. The sunbeam, now a narrow strip, just touched the edge of the stone, its warmth much gentler than before. She settled into the chair, feeling its familiar embrace. The cushions seemed to mold perfectly around her, inviting relaxation. She took a moment just to sit, feeling the comfortable weight of her body sinking into the chair, her feet resting lightly on the rug. She lifted the mug, inhaling the soothing steam before taking the first sip. The tea was warm, not hot, and the delicate flavor was instantly calming. She felt the warmth spread from her chest outwards, a gentle wave of relaxation flowing through her limbs. It felt like a quiet release, letting go of the focused energy of her earlier work and easing into the softer pace of the late afternoon. She savored the simple taste, the comforting heat. Picking up her book, she found her place marked with a simple ribbon. The paper felt smooth beneath her thumb. She began to read, but her pace was slow, leisurely. Her eyes followed the lines of text, absorbing the thoughtful words, but her awareness also remained softly tuned to the room around her. She noticed the way the fading sunlight caught the spines of the books on the shelves, making the gold lettering gleam softly. She heard the gentle tick of the mantel clock, a steady, unhurried beat, measuring the quiet moments. After reading a few pages, she paused, letting the book rest open on her lap. She took a bite of an oat biscuit, its nutty flavor and crumbly texture a simple pleasure. She gazed at the hearthstone again. The sunbeam was now just a sliver, clinging to the very edge, its light noticeably dimmer, tinged with the rosy hues of the approaching evening. Watching its slow departure felt like watching a quiet farewell, the day gracefully drawing towards its close. There was a profound sense of peace in this moment, the warmth of the tea, the comfort of the chair, the quiet beauty of the fading light, the gentle words resting in her lap, no demands, no urgencies, just the simple pleasure of being still and observant. She noticed the way the light outside was changing, the blue of the sky deepening slightly, the greens in the garden becoming richer, more saturated in the slanted rays. A blackbird landed on the grass, pecked hopefully a few times, then flew up to the roof ridge, silhouetted against the mellowing sky. Clara let out a soft, unconscious sigh, a sound of pure contentment. She felt her eyelids grow slightly heavy, not with tiredness, but with deep relaxation. The tension she hadn't even realized she was holding in her jaw seemed to melt away. She felt the gentle weight of her hands resting on the book, the soft texture of the armchair fabric beneath her elbows. The room was filled with a quiet, luminous stillness. She finished her tea, the last warm sip as comforting as the first, and closed her book, content to simply sit and watch as the final remnant of the sunbeam slipped away from the hearthstone, leaving it entirely in the soft shadow of the coming twilight. Chapter 5. Hearthstone cools in twilight. The sunbeam had vanished completely now. The hearthstone lay cool and shadowed in the deepening twilight, its long duty as the day's sundial concluded. Outside, the sky was awash with the soft, blended colors of dusk streaks of pale pink and soft orange fading into a deepening lavender blue towards the east. The vibrant greens of the garden were muted now, softened into shades of gray and deep blue-green. A gentle hush seemed to fall over the world outside, mirrored by the profound quiet within Primrose Cottage. Clara rose slowly from her armchair, the movement unhurried. The warmth of the afternoon tea still lingered pleasantly within her, a feeling of gentle ease. She walked over to the small table by the window and switched on a lamp. A soft, warm yellow glow immediately filled the corner of the room, casting gentle shadows and creating a cozy, intimate atmosphere. It wasn't the bright, revealing light of the sun, but a contained, comforting glow, perfect for the evening hours. The darkness outside the window deepened, turning the glass into a dark mirror, reflecting the lamp's warm light back into the room. Moving towards the kitchen nook, Clara began preparations for a simple supper. Tonight, it would be soup comforting vegetable soup she had made earlier in the week, and a thick slice of crusty bread. She ladled the soup into a saucepan, the sound soft in the quiet kitchen. Placing it on the stove over a low flame, she waited patiently for it to heat, stirring occasionally with a wooden spoon. The gentle clinking of the spoon against the pan was one of the few sounds breaking the stillness. The savory aroma of herbs and vegetables began to rise, warm and inviting. While the soup heated, she sliced the bread, the serrated knife making a satisfyingly crisp sound as it cut through the crust. She placed the bread on a plate and carried it, along with a bowl for her soup, to the small wooden table near the hearth. Setting her place simply a mat, the bowl, the plate, a spoon felt like another small grounding ritual. Everything was in its place, ready. The lamp cast a warm pool of light over the table, making the wood grain glow. When the soup was gently simmering, she carefully ladled it into her bowl, steam rising invitingly. She carried it to the table and sat down, taking a moment before eating just to appreciate the scene. The warm circle of lamplight, the comforting bowl of soup, the deep quiet of the house wrapped in the encroaching night. Outside, the first star might be appearing. Though she couldn't see it from her window, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the simple provision, for the peace of her home. Eating slowly, Clara savored each spoonful of soup. The warmth spread through her, a comforting sensation that seemed to anchor her firmly in the present moment. The bread was good, too, substantial and wholesome. She ate without distraction, focusing on the tastes and textures, listening to the gentle sounds of her own meal. Occasionally, the house would make a soft settling noise, a creak of wood adjusting to the cooling air, familiar sounds that only emphasized the surrounding peace. After finishing her supper, she cleared the table, washing the bowl, spoon, and pan in the sink. The routine task felt calming, the warm water pleasant on her hands, the simple act of restoring order satisfying. She dried everything carefully and put it away, leaving the kitchen tidy for the morning. The cottage felt settled now, ready for the night. Returning to the living room, Clara didn't switch on any more lights. The single lamp provided sufficient gentle illumination. She looked towards the hearthstone, now just a dark, solid shape in the ambient light. It rested, cool and quiet, its daily journey with the sun complete. It felt like an old friend, a steady presence in the room, marking the rhythm not just of the day, but of the seasons, year after year. She considered reading again, but felt instead drawn towards simple quiet. Perhaps she would sit for a while longer, just listening to the night, or perhaps head upstairs soon. Before deciding, she walked to the window and peered out. The darkness was complete now, save for the faint glimmer of starlight beginning to pierce the deep blue-black sky. The garden was a realm of shadows and soft shapes. She felt her body signaling readiness for rest, a gentle heaviness in her limbs, a pleasant sense of completion after the day's simple flow. Feeling utterly calm and deeply content, Clara turned from the window, the cool surface of the hearthstone seeming to hold the memory of sunlight, promising its return with the dawn. The house was quiet. She was at peace, ready for sleep.